Josef Herman Belonging. This presentation includes a selection of Josef Herman's art from the collection of the National Library of Wales, relevant to the theme of belonging. The presentation provides images, some facts, and the opportunity to explore Herman's work thematically as a basis to develop individual ideas and work. I'm Gwenllian Beynon. I'm an artist. I'm a lecturer at Swansea College of Art, and I'm a trustee of the Josef Herman Art Foundation, Cymru. Fleeing. After fleeing Poland in 1938 and travelling across Europe to Scotland, the artist Josef Herman arrived at Gwenllian in the Swansea Valley and discovered his home. After losing everyone he knew to the Nazis in the ghettos in Poland. Belonging. In Gwenllian he was called Joe Bach, and he discovered a sense of belonging, or a sense of home, to the community, to the people, to the landscape, and to his art. Gwenllian and the working people of Gwenllian became really important to Josef Herman's art for the rest of his life. Painting and drawing. In his artwork, he painted and drew Gwenllian, the landscape, the people, people working, people together, people with animals. Herman seldom titled, dated, nor signed his work, and therefore the titles used here are somebody's interpretation or a description of the work. In this drawing, we see a landscape and a person looking at the landscape. The landscape was really important to Herman, and we see it appearing in a lot of his drawings and paintings. We see a mountain in the background here with trees and a telegraph pole and obviously a part of the village in the foreground in the work. The drawing is made from pen and ink and a wash of ink. There's also some writing on the side of the drawing, which implies that Herman was going to use this drawing for something else, or to develop the work into something else and put down his thoughts on the drawing. Here we see a group of people, obviously in some animated communication. There's a bird in the middle as well, or an impression of a bird, and also an impression of the landscape in the background. What was important in Herman's work when he lived in Gwenllian was to represent ordinary things, ordinary activities, ordinary people gathering. And also we see here a telegraph pole. He used a telegraph pole a lot in his work. Here we see the miners, the coal miners at work. We see one man in the middle bending over. They're wearing their working helmets with the lights on, and also there's a trolley on the side. What's interesting about Herman's work is that he often drew the work quite darkly. This again is a wash, a pen and ink and wash drawing. Also that light coming through, the light falling on the miners and on the landscape was really important in his work to help give the work a glow. Here we see another drawing from wash and ink. There's also some brown wash or the evidence of some brown wash in this image seen on the door. This image is interpreted as a man and a dog in a house, although I would argue that they are possibly outside, as doors in the UK open inward. So therefore, that implies that they are outside, although I am not sure, of course. We see a dog and a person. I'm not sure, actually, if it's a man. If it is, it's a very fat man, or it could be a pregnant woman. And again, what's interesting from these simple drawings that Herman did from observation is that we can add further interpretation to the work and bring our own imagination into play to look at work. This is really important when looking at artwork. But in relation to belonging, the relationship between these two, the dog and the person in this work, is evident. That dog is sitting there very, very comfortably, looking out at us. The person is looking at the dog. And there's obviously a relationship, a strong relationship between the two that is caught here by Herman in this drawing. In this image, we see a coal miner and a cat, although I think it's either a giant cat or it could be a dog. It looks like a cat from its features. And I think that's also quite interesting as well when looking at an artist's work, is that, you know, the capturing of something is something that the artist has done, and then there's the interpretation that we provide on the image. The coal miner has just come home, I think, because he's still wearing his helmet. He's looking out of the window. We know it's a window, that there's a curtain there. And also it's a pen and ink drawing, and very dark as well, using those dark colours as well as the light tones. And the variety of shades and tones here is also really interesting. Here we see a family unit sitting in a home. Certainly one of the people in this image is sitting down. This again is a pen and ink drawing with wash, using wash. Also, I think when we look at this image, I've talked about interpretation, we can also actually figure out how many people are in this drawing. What is that family unit? Who is there? They're obviously, again, in relation to belonging. They look very comfortable together. There's obviously a lovely relationship between the two. And I'm also here going to say about the word belonging. In English, in Welsh, we can use the word perthyn, which means related to or belonging to something. In English, we need to use the two terms, belonging and relationship. And we see the two things definitely in this family unit here. This image is quite dark. It's an oil painting. It's men on a bus. In the next slide, I've lightened the image so that we can see the characters in the on the bus. What's important about this image in relation to belonging is that evidently those men are comfortable in their presence. They seem to be having some animated conversation. Some of them have just come off work. They're still wearing their helmets. Others are wearing flat caps. It may mean that these are retired miners, that they're older, or actually that they just aren't in work at this moment in time. But what's important in this image is that capturing of the man in the middle, the miner in the middle of the image, carrying a baby in a shawl. That shawl, or the nursing shawl, is really important for Welsh culture. And like I said earlier, for Herman, capturing the ordinary, the normal, the things that he saw every day was really important. And of course now the shawl is not used so much in Welsh culture. We seldom see babies carried in shawls. They're in slings or other formats these days. But what Herman has captured here is something very ordinary of the period of time, and captured that for us to see and interpret in the future. Here's the lightened image of the work. Evidently, this image is not to be used in any way, but we can see very clearly all the men on the bus, and the central figure coming into the bus as well, carrying that baby in the shawl. And, you know, there's evidently some conversation happening as that man comes on, as the miner comes onto the bus in the middle there of the image, of the painting. This is a mother and baby, again carrying this baby or this toddler in a nursing shawl. We can see how the shawl has been wrapped around the baby and the mother, and again we talk about that relationship or the sense of belonging to each other. Herman, you know, these people are looking out at us, but they're also looking out at the artist. Herman is evidently quite comfortably drawing these people and able to represent something that is really important for that time, this mother and baby in the shawl. And we see that happening a lot in Herman's work. This again is an oil painting. We've obtained permission to use the artworks from the National Library, from the estate of Josef Herman, and we thank the family for the ability to use these images.